Hey everybody, what are we going to talk about today? Let me just check and make sure that I have audio real quick. Let me just check and make sure. Okay, we have good audio. How we doing? Kind of tired. To the ones that have been to the summit and back, Patrick says woot. I thought you'd be recuperating today, Patrick. Hey, Richard. Hey, Richard. Patrick, if you want to come on, I'll get you. I'll say I thought you'd be recuperating today. Let me know. So what are we going to discuss? There's Rob Mills from the UK. I know it's, what time is it there, Rob? It must be 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Patrick is at the Dulles airport. That's what I thought. I thought everybody would be like recuperating today. That's why I decided to come on here just to do a quick, or maybe not a quick, depending on how much discussion we have. I got some exclusive footage to show you today. Rob Mills says it's 1937 UK. It's 7:30 p.m. over there in the UK. Patrick, perfect timing then. They got you at the airport. Gert says there is the chat. Absolutely, there's the chat. So we're going to discuss some of the things that happened at the Final Cut Pro Creator Summit. And if we get the time and the inclination, we'll discuss the legacy media issue that keeps popping up for people. There's some workarounds that I think, well, not workarounds, they're just ways to address that we can discuss in a little bit. So the summit, if you have any questions, submit them in the chat. Now, once again, I submitted this to a bunch of Facebook groups and on Twitter. So I'm not going to be monitoring them. I'm just going to be monitoring. Patrick says, die, old media, die. That's very true. People have different opinions on this warning. I mean, when Apple warns you in advance about something, when Apple doesn't warn you in advance about something, they complain. And then when Apple warns you about something, they complain. So no matter what, they're going to complain. They're going to complain. Whatever Apple does, they're going to complain about it. So everybody at this point knows about 10.4.4, which seems to be a pretty solid update, right? Anybody have any opinion about that? So one of the things that happened when I came back this morning, there's a couple of reasons. I had a top 5 reasons why I am glad to be back on the East Coast. So they went like this. Number 1, I missed the snow when I left for California. So I came back, they had a little bit of snow left for me. You can see right there. And also some flowers. So when I went, well, that's one of the other issues. So when I came back, there was some snow. That's one of the things that I missed. Number 2, I missed the ability to run in the morning. I usually run 2 miles when I get up after I drink my first cup of coffee. Well, I wasn't about to go running in the smog. So number 3, I had clean air when I came back. Number 4, the gas prices. The gas prices, I was really surprised. The gas prices in California were like $2.59 for a gallon of gas, $3.59 for a gallon of gas, where back here it's only $2.29. That's a difference of what? $1.30 per gallon? That's quite a bit. And then the number 1 reason, I bring my coffee set up when I go to when I go overseas, when I go to California overseas. Just might as well be overseas. When I go to when I go to California and Las Vegas, the summit for NAB, and the issue is I couldn't drink the water with coffee with the water up here. I bought by mistake, not by mistake. I learned I bought spring water. Tasted horrible with coffee. So I finally got some filtered water, and that was much better. So I couldn't drink my coffee first thing in the morning. I had to get up and get dressed and go somewhere. So those are my top things that I didn't miss in California, that I was glad to be back in the East Coast. So we're having a discussion right now. They broke the shortcut. Rob Mills says they broke the shortcut for send to compressor. I haven't confirmed that. Patrick asked if you can reassign it. It says, somebody says, doesn't matter if what you said, it crashes the app. The menu works only if you assign a keyboard shortcut. Rob Mills says gas is $6 per gallon in the UK. Enjoy the clean air. Yes, I enjoy the clean air, Patrick, in the East Coast compared to what I was getting in California. I mean, I saw people walking around with masks. Now, was it horrible? No, wasn't horrible. But it was smoggy, don't you think? This is the view from the country club where we had our session on Friday. It wasn't. I mean, I expected maybe a little bit worse. It wasn't quite that bad, but it was definitely foggy, and you could smell it. That's the other thing. You could smell the smoke in the air. Now, there were some people that were sensitive to the fog, and they wore masks. I brought masks with me just in case. Patrick Souther says the air was very dry. Yes, it was. And I prefer my smoked flavored things in barbecue, not in my air. So it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't horrible, because I didn't wear a mask when I was outside. So on Friday, well, Thursday morning, we got 10.44. Everybody knows about that. I'm not going to go over that. You can read Patrick. You can watch Patrick's YouTube video, LumaForge's YouTube video on it. There's a whole bunch of other videos on it. Steve Martin and Mark Spencer have a series, of course, at Ripple Training. FCP.co has an article on the 10.44 update. So I'm not going to go over the specifics. We know pretty much what they are, right? Don't we? Unless you have a question about it, I'll discuss the question that if I can answer it. But since we have Patrick right now in the chat, we can, if I have a question that I can't answer, perhaps he can. So get him while it's hot. So the idea that some of us thought, not some of us, people knew there was going to be an update for the summit. I mean, that's just common sense. The update's important, and it's usually has a major feature update. Well, it did have a feature update. I would say it's medium. I wouldn't say it's major. It's not tiny, and it's not as perhaps big as a full point update. But so 10.44 came out. So what does that say about 10.5 when 10.5 comes out? 10.5, you would logically think that 10.5 is going to be much bigger than 10.44. So that's thumbs up for 10.5 when it's coming out. Probably 2019 is when it's coming out. I would say NAB is probably a good guess. Possibly. I mean, they seem to be hitting these major milestones now. Apple does. And we'll talk more about Apple. We did get to talk to Apple. Well, we always can talk to Apple. They're always there. These events they're always there. But we had a special event on Saturday. I'll get to that in a minute. A very encouraging event, I must say. So, what else happened? So let's go back to Friday. So Friday morning we go to the Saratoga Country Club. So that was very, very cool, I think. Let me see. Live coverage. And we had different people there. One of the people that I absolutely want to thank, and perhaps he doesn't get as much thanks as he should, is Ben from FMC. Here's a little clip of his.
Our events are geared for experienced people. That means that we cannot dazzle you in every session. Not everything is new to you, right? You're all experienced users. So I always say to people, try to walk away with 3-4 tips per session. At the end of the 3 days, you have a wealth of knowledge, and definitely walk away with 10 business cards that you didn't have before.
So that is Ben. Ben he's the owner of FCMC. He's FMC. He's the Future Media Concepts. He's the main person. If it wasn't for Ben and some other people, LumaForge and Apple, this event would not happen every year. Now, we also had some other platinum sponsors. We had Core Melt, Roger's company. And we had Lumberjack Systems, Phil Hodgetts, Gregory Clark. They were platinum sponsors. And I think Atomos was, and maybe Frame.io as well. They might have been platinum sponsors. They are the ones that give the most. They pay to be a sponsor for this event to help put it on. You know, the event's not cheap, of course, but it isn't like a huge moneymaker for anybody. It's very expensive. They have hotel rooms to pay for. They had this country club. They had a fantastic lunch for us at the country club. It was really nice. That was a nice feature. I wasn't quite expecting that. So speaking of the country club, I'm going over Friday first. Here's another clip I'm going to play for you. Let me see. iJustine was a keynote speaker.
I was just trying to think, when I started Final Cut, I started posting my first videos on YouTube because I was teaching myself Final Cut, which is kind of crazy to think about. And that's why I started posting. And when people were like, why did you do this? I was like, well, no one wanted to be in my videos, so I put myself in it, taught myself to edit, and then posted it to the internet, and then people were commenting. And this is like probably in 2005, 2006.
It's crazy.
It really is crazy to see how the industry has changed.
So that was iJustine. She did a great job. She's a big Final Cut Pro user. So her timelines were interesting. When she brought a couple of her projects along with timelines. She had a lot of checkerboarding going on, and of course you really can't tell whether that's the way you would do it or not. But she was very engaging. She was very pleasant. A couple of the highlights that she had. I have that whole clip of iJustine. I'll see what I'm going to do with it. I'll check with her and check with Future Media before I'd release anything like that. So one of the things, there's a couple of things that she said that I had a laugh at. Number one is, well, not a laugh. This is number one. She's approaching 1 billion with a B views on her YouTube page. 1 billion views. The other thing she said, Jeff Greenberg, that was Jeff Greenberg in that clip as well. And he asked her if she's ever disappointed in her videos. She goes, yeah, some of the ones that don't have good numbers. And he said to her, well, what's not having good numbers to you? She says, a few 100,000. So a few 100,000 views is disappointing to her. A few 100,000 views. I guess most of her videos get millions of views. So I was streaming all weekend long. I started Thursday night. And Oh, one more thing. Besides iJustine, we had another celebrity there. I forgot to mention this one. We had another celebrity. He actually was not. He actually was not there for the summit. It was John Cleese. He was at the Juniper Hotel. He was there for a few days. I have no idea what he was there for, but there he is from Monty Python. Patrick says she also had never. Oh, Gert says I never heard of her before, and Patrick says she also has never heard of any of us. John Cleese, yeah, he was there. John Cleese was in the lumberjack presentation. Was he really? No, you're just joking. Of course, he wasn't there. There was no lumberjack presentation anyway. It was just, you mean at on Friday? No, he was not there. I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I got you. I knew you were making a joke. So anyway, the whole weekend I had I have live coverage. You can go to, I'll just bring this up real quick. You can go to Final Cut Pro Radio, FCPRadio.com, excuse me, and I have a whole list of all the videos that I did live. It's right on the main page. There's a link that says FCPX Summit 2018. So Puix123 says, hi, Richard, I'm from the UK. Was there any mention of better integration with Logic 10? I didn't hear Logic mentioned at all. I mean, the whole weekend, except for maybe a few Logic people. So the answer to that is no. That doesn't mean it's not happening. It's just that I didn't hear it at the Creative Summit. That would be, I think, a good track to have at the Creative Summit would be a Logic track along with Motion. And I don't think there's any compressor tracks either. So Garrett says they were performing in Las Vegas. There's the link. That's why they were there. So Garrett also says back to Final Cut Pro, he's very curious about the extensions. So the extensions are very interesting for sure. The extensions once you get approved, now it's not an easy process. You actually control, like, for example, the Final Cut Pro 10 timeline in your app. Right now, I think there's 2 of them, Shutter or something, some kind of media, Shutterstock or one of those kind of places has an extension. And Frame.io has one, CatDV is working on one. There's a few other people. I think everybody's going to do that, but there's a multiple step process. It's just not a matter of putting it in the App Store. Getting in the App Store is easy compared to getting it into Final Cut Pro. As you can imagine, nobody wants an unstable Final Cut Pro. Nobody wants that. So it's going to be, if you have a good product and it's going to be beneficial, it probably can get it approved, but you got to, stay at it a bit. So Friday, we went to, let me see. First, we went to the Apple Spaceship Visitors Center, which is right across the street from the spaceship. This is, of course, the place that I went to was the Apple Cafe. They had great coffee there. I needed a good coffee. I don't know why, but one of the things that I couldn't get a good cup of coffee in the mornings. It's just the water was, I went across the street and got bottled water, but I got spring water, and that was the mistake. Won't do that again. So that's the picture of the Apple Cafe. And then, so we went to the Apple Cafe first. I mean, the Apple Spaceship Visitor Center. You couldn't get to the spaceship itself. It was across the street, and a lot of people can't go there yet. So that'll be perhaps forthcoming. I'm not sure. Maybe to get into the Steve Jobs Theater. Maybe we'll have a presentation there at some point. And another place, these are all bus trips. So once we got another bus trip, we went over to Apple HQ at 1 Infinite Loop. They had some really nice things on the walls there. Steve Jobs quotes, Steve Jobs pictures, stuff. That was really nice. So, everybody's talking about Frame.io right now. Let's see. Frame.io follows Playhead. Brand new extension should work on your MacBook the same as any other machine. So the exciting thing about Frame.io is you run the Playhead in Frame.io, it follows in Final Cut Pro. So you're not just playing a clip, you're actually playing the timeline in Final Cut Pro. So that's exciting because I know the old version of Final Cut had that ability to work with somebody live on their project, the video chat feature that they don't have right now. But who knows? They could probably certainly have it back. So let me see. So when we're at the Final Cut Pro, when we're at Apple's headquarters, we had a chance to go to the demo room. They absolutely, they had a demonstration, of course. And then we got to go to the demo room. So this is the Apple demo room for people who have never been here. We've been here the last couple of years, 3 years, something like that. I'll be broadcasting again live tonight from the expo at the Final Cut Pro Creator Summit. Here's Steve. There's Ben. Yeah, the extensions are going to be doing more than that, I think. They'll allow you to play the timeline in Final Cut Pro so far. So anyway, that's just a little clip from the Apple demo room of 10.4. Look who we have. We have Patrick.
Hey guys, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Awesome. I better turn off
They can hear
YouTube so that I don't hear myself twice.
Yeah, they can hear you because I can see you registering little green dots on the bottom of the interface.
Awesome. But you can hear me?
Yeah. Hey, you're horizontal. Thank you instead of vertical.
You're welcome.
So you're headed to where?
Headed to Oklahoma.
For Thanksgiving, I bet.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I figured. It'd be hard to get anybody this week because of Thanksgiving holidays. Before I thought about it today, I was thinking, well, I'll have one of these chats with everybody on Thursday. Then I said, wait a minute, that's not going to work. That's Thanksgiving. So
that wouldn't work too well at all.
Not at all. So I figured just do this one. Yeah, he says, Rob Mill says we can hear you.
Awesome.
So what's going on with this legacy warning that pops up? I mean, some people say that's no big deal. It seems like you can just transcode your media to ProRes, right?
Yeah. I mean, the legacy media it is talking about is 32-bit media. because
Okay.
they're hinting at that in a future version of Mac OS, 32-bit media may not be supported at all.
Okay.
So that's what that's about.
So that's interesting. So Apple's workaround seems to be open your legacy project and export a master clip, right?
You can do that, or you can actually select your media in the browser, and you can batch, because you can batch export now, you can batch export your clips from the browser to ProRes.
Okay.
Or you could
So-
simply generate optimized media, you know?
Right. Generate optimized media. So I had a couple of other ideas. I think number one is make a clone of your OS that works right now. Right?
That's probably a good idea, yeah.
Okay. So you make a clone of your OS that works right now. You can always go back to that OS with the same machine you're on right now. And that way you can work with that media, or if you forget to do a project, you can re-optimize it or whatever. And also that includes, you have to have a machine that'll open up the older OS. So that's the second thing, is you got to have an older piece of equipment. I have a MacBook Pro that's 10 years old. Okay, I'm not getting rid of it because I can't get but a couple $100 for it, but I can open up Final Cut Pro 7 or legacy versions of Final Cut Pro 10 if I needed to. I also have a Power Mac downstairs, and I have a Power Mac G5 downstairs.
You've got a G5 downstairs?
I have a G5 Power Mac downstairs, yes, in the studio. That's what I used to use. So I have both of those that I can, open up legacy material if I had to, and then retranscode or whatever. That's not, not an issue for me. But I mean, so there's multiple things you can do. You can optimize your media into ProRes. You can freeze your OS the way it is now. Get make a clone of it so you can open it up, make a bootable clone, so you can boot back into that OS if you had to. Like, for example, is everybody going to remember to do every project that they might need in the future? I don't think so. I mean, there's probably, I have, I don't know, 50 to 100 old libraries.
Right.
I don't know. Is I guess DV, is that 30? That's 32-bit, right?
I would imagine DV,
Yeah.
I know the animation codec is.
Right. And also a bunch of the Avid ones. Yeah, a bunch of the Avid ones are. I thought that was, I wonder if that was, that's just 32-bit though, you're saying?
Just 32-bit, yeah.
Okay.
If it's
So
a
there's plenty of-
64-bit codec, it's safe.
So no matter what Apple does, or no matter what anybody, people are going to criticize them for one thing or the other. If they didn't warn you and it just happened, they'd be criticized. They're warning you in advance to be prepared. Now, I wish they would make a list of the codecs. If it's, I don't know what's 32-bit necessarily. I guess an older codec or whatever. So a nice list would be helpful, don't you think? If they made a list of these codecs, these 20-some codecs are no longer to be supported. I mean, that seemed to me that would work better.
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful. Sorry,
Well, of course.
they're asking for a moment of silence at the airport, so I'm going to go offline for a second.
Okay. So, yeah, Patrick's at the airport. He's getting ready to go to see his family for Thanksgiving. He'll be back in a minute. They asked for a moment of silence. I'm not sure what the heck happened.
It's going to be a general.
So, anyway, yeah, GoPro 7. So, anything in the old codecs, you got to convert them. And if you're going to use them, keep a way to convert that old media if you need it in the future. That's the main thing. I mean, it's, I have to do that anyway a lot of times for other things. Like, for example, DV media, I have DV tapes. I have a DV deck. Well, that's old media, and if I want to transfer it, it's, it's a process. So same thing with these. So here's the link from Apple about the codec support. Rob Mills posted it in the chat. So if you have any questions about Final Cut Pro, we haven't got to Saturday yet. So people were commenting about the fact that 10.4.4 was released on Thursday and the Final Cut Pro Summit was started on Friday. And some people are saying, well, you must have been disappointed. And I wouldn't say disappointed at all. It seemed on Friday, it kind of seemed like it was a more normal summit than perhaps last year's was when they introduced 10.4 at our Apple presentation at the summit. We got the worldwide debut of that, a preview of that version of 10.5. So A to Z says Charlie Austin has a list of media codex of potential legacy media issues. So that's good. I'll check on that later. So there is a list Charlie Austin has, but I think there'll be other lists up. If you have a concern about legacy media and codex, you can. There is a list. Charlie Austin has one. I think it's at Charlie Austin on Twitter, perhaps. Don't know. Don't know. So anyway, let's get to Saturday. So the fact that they released 10.4.4 was a pleasant surprise. It was not exclusive, obviously, to the Creative Summit, which some people were saying, well, you must be disappointed. I wasn't disappointed. It just seemed to be, I mean, we still got to go to the Apple campus. We still got to, there's the link to the media. A to Z says he has a list of the media. The link's right in the chat. We still got to go to see the Apple presentation. We still got to go to the Apple demo room where they demoed the new version, and they also had the new Mac Minis there, and they had the eGPU there. Actually, the eGPU was bigger than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of surprised. So that was still pretty darn exciting. And then you had all the sessions, of course, on Saturday. However, something happened on Saturday that made this a very, if not the best summit ever, certainly one of the top summits for sure. So that's Friday. We went to Apple Campus, et cetera, et cetera. So Saturday starts. And then look at that gray bar in the center. Apple Pro Video Apps Panel and Discussion. So we got 1 hour, actually a little over an hour, to talk to the Apple Pro Apps team. They had, I don't know, 5 or 6 the panelists. Now, I cannot discuss what went on in that room. They specifically said no videotaping, no photography, and this is specifically for the people who attend the summit. That's the audience. That's where they want it to stay. That makes it special. Okay, we got to talk to them. So first they had a list of questions that were submitted in advance. People had questions and they answered those questions. And they were, we've met them before. They're just great people. They're just very, very good people. So, but that was a highlight. That was a real highlight. And that is only for the people that go to the summit. So next year, if they do it again, be prepared. That's going to be a big deal. Next year at the summit, presumably it'll be in the fall as well. So as far as 10.5, some people said they asked about whether 10.5, they mentioned anything about that. Well, I'm not going to tell you what they mentioned because they're not supposed to, but I would say that there's a good chance of 10.5 coming out, well, probably 2019, right? So what events would it come out around? NAB 2019, perhaps, who knows? It might not come out till next year's Creative Summit. Don't know. It could come out anytime, but I would say 2019. Maybe with the Mac Pro, maybe that'll be an event that they have. Oh, I got this phone call here. Hold on 1 second. Let me mute that. Sorry about that. Usually I thought I had it on quiet, but apparently not. I get these weird phone calls. I just don't answer them. If I don't know the number, I don't answer the phone call. So that was for sure a real highlight, seeing So Patrick says, biggest takeaway we can mention is they absolutely want to hear feedback from all users. Well, exactly. Everybody knows, they've heard that dozens and dozens of times. Send feedback in, via the feedback form. The more detailed feedback you can send in, the better. If you can do a screen recording of what your problem is, send them a little link to a YouTube video or a private link somewhere, a Dropbox link so they can see that. The more information they have, the better. If you tell your car mechanic, I heard a noise in my engine, and that's all you can tell them, that's not going to be very effective. If you said, I think it was the power steering belt that was squealing around because it only happens when I turn the wheel left or turn the wheel right, that's much, much better. The more specific information you have for those requests, not only problems, but requests, more specific, the better. The phone, Tom Morris says the phone call was from the Apple app team, making sure you don't break the NDA. That's true. I mean, no, I wouldn't do that. So, but anyway, as far as feedback goes, feedback for requests, feedback for bugs, send them the report. You can do it from the Final Cut Pro app itself, from the help menu. It's on Apple's website, or I put it up on FCPX.tv. Right at the top, it says send feedback. It's very simple to remember. FCPX.tv. Right at the top of the page, there's a click button to link to send the information to Apple. So that's another place you can go. But just send them information. Now here, when you send them information, when you talk about Apple, when you're in discussions on Facebook and Twitter, don't be rude. Be professional. You can be, you can be critical. That's not a problem. Just don't be rude or unprofessional. I tell people, speak to them the same way you would want your client to speak to you. If you did something that your client didn't like, speak to them the same way you expect your client to speak to you. Professional, and don't be rude. That's all. So Gert says, Siri, call Richard again. Yeah, I don't think that was from you, Gert, because where are you from? I think Germany, maybe? I'm not sure. Yes, Rob Mills says, I sent them my whole crash report after the send to compressor. Also thank them for 1044. Absolutely. Send it. Every one of those reports they read. Every one is read. Doesn't mean they're going to get a personal response. Doesn't mean they're going to give you your requests. I mean, I know that. I've been sending requests in since version 5. So, but just the idea is be courteous. So Rob Mills says, I sent them my whole crash report after the send to compressor crash. Also thank them. With the report, he sent a thank you. That goes a long way. Something like that goes a long way. So yes, crash reports are fantastic to send them. That helps them a lot. And they said that those reports are anonymous. They don't know who you are. That's probably good. I've sent a few in that maybe were a little terse over the years. I won't do that anymore, but Netherlands, making videos is fantastic to go to help them, to help everybody. I mean, we're helping them. They're helping us. They're going to make a better product. They're going to get rid of bugs as soon as they can. Right? Doesn't that make sense? All right. So if you have any questions, Gert says Tim was calling with my phone rang. Yeah, that's what it was. Always be polite. Number one, you can be critical. That's not a problem. Just be professional about it. That's all. When I see a chat that starts, getting derogatory, that's ridiculous. I don't care what they're doing. So South Coast, I guess, said, how do you send the report using feedback? I guess copy and paste, or just send the report. When the report comes up, it says send to Apple. Just click that button to send it. Make sure you send it. I don't know if copying and pasting in the entire report is the best thing to do, but certainly send the report to Apple. Maybe you can send the top part of the report so they know. Rob Mills says developers love feedback. They do. Absolutely do. So you guys like the 10.5? 10.4.4? I mean, I liked it. I think it's pretty stable. It seems to be working, except for that, there's going to be perhaps a couple of bugs. It seems like that's what always happens. So after another thing we had, which was always fun, this was Friday night is actually what this was.
Yeah, well,
So it makes sense.
absolutely
So
does.
I was pleased that that's one of my points is
There's my
keep
friend
it
Ian
short.
Anderson.
Don't worry about making it the prettiest thing ever because
And Lee
people care a
Herbert,
lot less than
both
you
from
do.
Australia.
Well, that's what she was saying as well. It's more important sometimes to get the stuff out, not worry about perfecting it, because
Yeah.
you got to turn stuff over.
Yeah, you
so.
gotta keep working. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I
They've
couldn't get
been
in
lined
here
up.
earlier. I know.
Yeah,
That's
it's wonderful.
I like our tablecloth.
There's Serena.
And our shirts.
Greg
We've actually
Clark,
had, I
Lumberjack.
just had
Couldn't
somebody
get
give me
Philip
their
'cause he was
card
too
again.
busy.
They want us to make lumberjack shirts with our logo on them, and they said they would buy them.
That's Serena Catania and Gregory Clark from Lumberjack. I couldn't get Philip. As you can see, he was very busy. I couldn't get him on.
And iMac covers. And iMac covers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Serena at the table.
I need to talk to those guys a little bit because anyway. but yeah, we'll see where it goes from here. It's been a fun day. I think we had that keynote speech from iJustine.
Yes.
And I thought it was incredibly inspirational. She was incredibly live and fun. I mean, she's a personality, right?
Exactly.
And it was one of those things where I felt like she's a real world example. When we talk about a movie like Off the Tracks of the future of content creation, she's a real world example of how things are changing.
Yeah, and she is an exceptional personality in the fact that she has up to 1 billion downloads now, she said.
Yeah. And she edits all her own stuff, which
Right.
for a lot of these YouTube stars that get to that level, she doesn't need to. She could have someone else do it. But she said she loves editing. And she had this moment that clicked. She later said to me that it clicked to her that, oh my gosh, I started doing all of this because I liked Final Cut.
Right.
I started doing all this because I liked Final Cut. She's a huge, huge Apple fan. She loves the gadgets and things. She doesn't like the mouse, though, that charges on the bottom, which I think is a ridiculous feature as well. Ridiculous way to implement that, but everybody thinks that, I'm sure. All righty. So Rob Mill says, make sure you write good feedback by limiting what you say. And So Coast says, can't attach the report. Rob Mill says, I linked to it in Google Docs. There you go. Link to it in Google Docs. That's a good way to do it. But also just send it in when the pop-up comes up, right? That works. So what else do we have to talk about? I guess that's pretty much it. Here's another clip from the summit. So besides the going to Apple Campus, besides going to the keynote at the Saratoga Country Club on Friday, besides going to Apple headquarters, besides talking to the Pro Apps team, they have sessions all day Saturday and all day Sunday. There's always 3 sessions at one time. Makes it difficult to pick which one you want to go to. This is a session with Steve Martin, of course. Steve, they had great speakers as usual. Jeff Greenberg was there, Steve Martin, Patrick Southern was there, Mark Spencer did some, Lee Herbert from Australia was there, Ian Anderson was there as well. So there's lots and lots of sessions all day. So you stay in a hotel, you get to meet everybody, you get to meet people that you see on YouTube all the time. I met a lot of people this time that I haven't met prior. It's like Philip Hodges says, it's a Final Cut Pro family reunion, annual family reunion, which is exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Gert says perhaps a little bit more info about the workflow extensions. What can we expect from that in the future? There'll be developers who port their products to that. I think every Final Cut Pro developer is going to try to port their their apps to use those extensions where it makes sense. It seems like I can't imagine one that wouldn't make sense, especially if you can control the timeline. So Tim Morris says the summit is well worth attending. It absolutely is. It absolutely is. Keyflow Pro are working on one. Philip said Lumberjack will come sometime in the future. All these apps that you're using now are going to be integrated as much as they can. You don't get control of the entire Final Cut Pro app, but right now it seems like the timeline and maybe some things in the inspector are going to be working. So one of the neat features that I like about 10.4.4 is batch export. Okay, you can select a group of clips in the browser and batch export them. You can select ranges of clips in the browser and just export the ranges. If you want to export your timeline clips, okay, go to the browser, make a smart collection for used media in that project, and export from the browser all the clips in the timeline, batch export them. That's the way to do it. Bring up the project, go to make a smart collection for used media in that project, and then export that smart collection. That'll export all the clips. That'll batch export all those clips out of that project. That's the way you do that. Rob Mills says Lumberjack is next on my list for conference videos. Well, that's interesting. All righty. Any other questions about the summit that I can answer? I mean, a lot of people wanted to know what the team had to say, and like I said, we can't say. I mean, a lot of, some of the things are just common sense, but I'm not going to say they came from the summit, but providing good feedback is essential. Tom Moore says, was there any mention of next year's date? You mean to create a summit date? No, because they this year they booked it. They started booking in May and June. There's a lot of moving pieces, as you can imagine, to get that summit. Number one is working with Apple to see what dates they want so we can visit their campus, because that's what, that's something we want to do. Then there's hotel accommodations. Then there's speakers and people who do the session. So there's a lot of moving parts. But I think it's pretty safe to assume it'll be late October or early November, which has been traditional. It seems to work out pretty well. You don't want to get any closer to Thanksgiving than we did this time. That's for sure. Yeah, there you go. Tom Morris says a few of us weren't able to attend because of this year being so close to Thanksgiving. Yeah, I think that's it can't be any closer to Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving also came a little early this year. So if Thanksgiving came like the 27th or 28th, then that's 10. If it happened in the middle of November, wouldn't be too bad. But Thanksgiving is coming the third week this year. Thanksgiving is this Thursday. Now, oh, by the way, I want to say happy Thanksgiving to everybody in the U.S. Anybody that celebrates Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I sure appreciate you guys. When I talk to the Final Cut Pro people and teams, I always say, there's a nice Final Cut Pro community out there, and they appreciate what everybody does, whether it's tutorials, whether it's the Final Cut Pro team. It doesn't really make everybody, they're appreciated. You guys are appreciated. We as a community are appreciated. So Atomos announced at IBC that there's 3.5 million seats of Final Cut Pro. By NAB, there could be an announcement by Apple that there's 4 million seats. That's a lot. That's a big, big community. And it's growing very fast. It's growing faster every year, it seems like. I think I heard Apple say that somewhere. Mr. Mel says, happy Thanksgiving. Mr. Mel, where you from? I don't even know. I'm not sure where you're from. How many first-year attendees did you talk to, and what were their impressions? I think everybody. I didn't hear any complaints from attendees of the summit. I initially saw that there was a Q&A with the Pro Apps team or Final Cut Pro team. Their marketing team is what it is. There weren't any engineers there. I mean, maybe somebody was an engineer. I don't know. But I saw that originally a couple of weeks ago on the schedule. And I mentioned it at one of these live events that we had. And then it went away. So I thought maybe that was just a placeholder. And then it came back. And then it came back. And it was there. That is gigantic. I mean, that is it's like going to whatever your favorite band is. You know, going to a place that has 200 people and your favorite band is sitting in front in a panel and you get to talk to them. You know, like the Rolling Stones, Charlie Watts and Mick Jagger and Keith Richards and Ron Wood sitting at a panel, and Rolling Stones fan, 200 though, only 200 fans get to go and talk to them one-on-one. That's what it was like. I mean, it was really, really good. Now, the other thing is they're not just there and then they disappear. Those same people on the panel were at the event the whole weekend. Starting on Friday at the event, you could talk to them in the Apple demo room. You could talk to them. You know, you can't talk to them during the presentation. There's no filming or anything of that. But afterwards, they're there. They're running the machines. They're showing. They're answering questions. And then Saturday at least, they're there. You know, right there. They're in the lobby. I saw Estelle and a bunch of them there. So you can talk to them there as well. Now, they're not going to answer questions. They're not going to, if you ask them, when is this feature coming? They're not going to answer that. That's not an appropriate question. They might say, we've heard that request. That's about the most they would probably say. We've heard that request. But the main thing is feedback. Give them more feedback. Give them the request to be in that form, but be polite and professional. Garrett says, happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Do you probably don't celebrate Thanksgiving, right, Garrett? Thanks. That was nice of you to say that, though. All right, everybody. I think I'll wait for a few more minutes if there's any more questions that I can help you answer. So just to do a little recap, let me see. For the legacy media issue that pops up, number one, optimize your media on any project that has legacy media. That's number one. Number two, freeze your OS. Not freeze it. Make a clone of your OS on the machine that you currently have, a bootable clone. Use Carbon Copy Cloner, or there's another one by Shirt Pocket. What was the other one called? I forget what it's called. There's a couple of them. Make a clone of a startup drive of your current operating system, and you'll always be able to start up with that OS and open your legacy projects. Now, I presume Apple gave us this warning. I presume that any kind of an issue is going to be 6 months to a year out. I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think they're giving us plenty of warning to take care of that. Garrett says compressor is 24-bit. Did anyone notice a performance improvement? I heard somebody did. It does open up 32-bit projects, but it is 64-bit finally. So apparently the keyboard shortcut for Center compressor is broken. That will be fixed. I'm sure we'll have a 10.4.5 update that'll fix any lingering bugs. What do you guys think? What do you think of 10.4.4? I mean, some people are saying, "Oh, it's not 10.5." Well, that's okay. We get what we get when it's ready. 10.5 will be even better. It'd have to be. It can't be 10.4.4 redo. That wouldn't make any sense. Will Sanchez on a Facebook group says the new compressor doesn't leave the active tab. The exported video does get created, but the completed tab stays empty. Eventually, you have to force quit the app. So there's another issue purported from the compressor app. Super Duper, that's the other cloning. I have both of those, Super Duper and Carbon Copy Cloner. I have both of those to make clones or in backups of my OS. There's another app that I have too that I use for cloning and backing up. So SoCast says it happens in the next OS. So the next OS, I'm not sure you're saying the next OS from WWDC next June, next full point OS, that would be not released probably for a year, close to a year, maybe next September. So that makes sense. Not a point update to Mojave is what you're saying. Rob Mills says, I think 10.5 will be massive. I think it will be as well. By the way, there's Black Friday deals will be coming up soon. So don't buy anything right now. Wait. Plugins, software, don't buy anything. Wait till for your Black Friday sale. So I know one of the things that's going to happen, I've already got an email from Arctic Whiteness. Their library manager is going to go on sale from Friday to Monday, I think, for 30% off. It's a great application. So some of the other applications that I use, third party, Kino, I use it all the time. There's a lot of features I like, but one of the main features I like is you can batch export from your camera cards, just certain portions. I mean, you can select an in and out point and multiple ones and just batch export those. You can set markers, which I use all the time. You can set markers in your clip, multiple markers, 10 markers, 20 markers in a clip, and batch export stills. I use that all the time if I need stills from something. So I really like Kino. Backups for Final Cut Pro. I use that all the time. It's an $18 app in the App Store that lets you save your Final Cut Pro projects, libraries, and events. I use that instead of Command S. We used to have Command S for these. I use that instead. I can make it anytime I want. You can rename them, all kinds of neat things. I use that as well. And then Arctic Whiteness, a Final Cut Pro library manager, and Keyflow Pro, I use that as well. So Tom Morris says, I think 10.5 is being saved for a major hardware release. Well, Tom, the only thing is 10 point legacy, I mean, when Final Cut Pro comes out, it's not just current hardware that it works on, right? And current OSs. That would be very bad for Apple to do, to make a version that just worked on this latest machine. It always goes back to generations of machines, and you wanted maybe one or two generations of the OS. So it may come out, it may have features that are only available with new hardware. That's true. I mean, the iMac Pro, for example, has, it's a very powerful machine. That's the best we've had so far. So SoCast says 10.1.5 will be 64-bit only. So is that the point that they're going to stop legacy, supporting some of this legacy media with 10.15? 10.15 is what it is. We're on 10.14 now, so 10.15. So that's probably 10 months from now. That's plenty of time to prepare. Plenty of time. But like I said, you should be cloning your hard drive anyway. You should be cloning your OS. I do that every so often, so I have all my stuff. I have the OS that works, and keep the media. Gabriel Spalding says, so if so, it'll coincide with the new Mac Pro, just as 10.4 was announced with the iMac Pro. So that's a good possibility. That could be NAB, right? That's the next big event here. Apple will be presenting at night, I think, late Monday night with FCP Works, and they have an event where they present there. And when they do these big events, to me, they have to have something new to show. They can't be showing the same stuff they showed last year. That would be a little bit disappointing. So there's two things about the Mac Pro. Yes, it's coming, and yes, it's coming in 2019. Those are the two things that I know about the Mac Pro. When, we don't know. Could be the first half, could be the second half, don't know. 10.5 coming? Yeah, it's coming. I presume 2019. To release it with the hardware, with the Mac Pro or NAB, makes more sense than just releasing it in August, for example. It wouldn't get quite as much attention. So We got a comment. Greetings. Were there any discussions about if Final Cut Pro is used on any big projects right now, for example, in Hollywood? Big projects, I don't know of any big projects, but I do know there are some people that are using it in Hollywood, and I saw Mike Matzdorf had a demonstration of a movie that's coming out. His presentation was their workflow, how things worked, what things didn't, and that's a major Hollywood film. Well, it's not a major Hollywood film, but it's being done in Hollywood. Can it be done? We already seen it done. We've seen it done multiple times. So it's not a question, is it can it? If we know it can, we've already seen it. Major TV stations with 60 and 100 seats are working with Final Cut Pro. We know that. It also, does it need improvement? Sure. Nobody's sitting there and saying, oh, it's all done. Nobody's going, oh, we're done with Final Cut Pro. It's as best as it's going to be. Nobody's doing that at all. Final Cut Pro editor says NAB would be cool. I feel like it seems more likely at WWDC. I don't think so. I mean, NAB is Final Cut Pro specific, right? NAB is Final Cut Pro specific. They don't do a general Apple thing there. They just do Final Cut Pro. WWDC is software, and it's Watch OS, and it's iPhone OS, and Mac OS. I think that NAB is a more appropriate place to do anything concerning Final Cut Pro. Gabriel Spalding says, seems to me that a motion workflow extension could offer some intriguing possibilities, not the round tripping that many people would say they want, perhaps a new and much more fluid approach. I don't think the motion team has to go through the process of getting an extension in the App Store. I think they can probably have a more direct route. What do you think? So Mr. Mel says, is Final Cut Pro usable for live broadcasting as well? Live broadcasting? It can make videos. I don't know, live broadcasting. Gabriel Spalding says, talk to the BBC about that, Mr. Mel. It is being used for Tour de France live too. Now, when you're saying Tour de France live, are they actually broadcasting live from Final Cut Pro, or are they just making quick turnaround videos for live broadcast? I thought they were making quick turnaround videos, doing very quickly. Say I have a cough button. Sometimes I turn it off and forget to turn it back on. So I don't think it's live like live switching and stuff. I think it's quick turnaround for live video, right? Live ingest and turnaround into live. Yep. Yeah, that's what I thought. I know when I taught, I'm a Final Cut Pro certified trainer, Apple certified trainer, and I taught Wolf Blitzer's editors one weekend down in Washington. It's been years and years ago. This is Final Cut Pro 7, and they told me that they used to use the Final Cut Pro 7 timeline and go directly live. I said, you are very brave to do that. Final Cut Pro Editor, that's where they did the last Mac Pro announcement, specifically talked about FCP at WWDC. Yes, but once again, they only talk about Final Cut Pro once in a while at WWDC. Once in a great while. However, the NAB event is always 100% Final Cut Pro. So that's a concentrated Final Cut Pro place. So they may, the Mac Pro is supposed to be out in 2019. It could come out at any point. I mean, they've had years working on it, and they just released the Mac Mini. James Branch says, pretty sure the BBC uses Final Cut Pro in news a lot. Yes, they do, but they don't broadcast live from it. They just make quick turnaround videos, from what I understand. I don't think anybody uses it for live. It's not really set up for that. Oh, it says, Michael says, not live, but they did play from the timeline sometimes when they were so tight. So they played right from the timeline sometimes. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So I would say if the Mac Pro is ready for the first half of 2019, that they will debut it or show it at NAB with perhaps 10.5. I mean, 10.5 could come out next year at the Creative Summit. We don't know. We're probably going to have 10.4.5, 4.5, 4.5 soon because there's some bugs. So that'll be a bug fix. Maybe they might slip in a new feature or so. I expect that, anytime that could happen in 30 days. And then we could have 10.4.6, 10.4.7. Don't know. 10.4.5 could come out I would presume it's going to come out in 2019. So NAB is one spot. The Creative Summit in 2019 is another spot. WWDC is a third place that could come out. It's just that WWDC is not concentrating on Mac Pros and it's not concentrating on Final Cut Pro. It's just concentrating on everything. iOS is much more important. The iPhone is much more important to Apple, financially than Mac Pros and then Final Cut Pros. So that's concentrating. It's a worldwide developers conference for all that stuff. But who knows? I mean, do I know? Nope, don't know. That's just my guess that they have to have something to show at NAB because they've been coming there for years. Mr. Mill says, thanks, guys, for the feedback. Rob Mills says, I have done conferences with Softron Movie Recorder for live ingest. Live ingest, but that's not broadcasting out of Final Cut, is it? I've seen the Softron Movie Recorder. I saw that at NAB, I think 2 years ago. So what's going to happen at NAB this year? Gabriel Spalding says, if I go to the FCPX Creative Summit in 2019, then I'll be happy if 10.5 doesn't come out until next October, November. Well, that's fine. We'll have something. We'll have something between now and then. And by then, hopefully we'll have the Mac Pro. I'm waiting on the Mac Pro. I'm broadcasting this right now from my 2017 iMac, right? Not from the iMac camera. I'm actually using I have a GH4 that I'm broadcasting with a Sigma lens that I use. It gives me great results for the video. So yeah, so we don't know. 10.5, whenever. We got a good solid update. We knew we were going to get an update. We got it. They didn't disappoint. Something brand new to talk about. I think they'll have something brand new to talk about at NAB as well. I don't want to see the same presentation they gave at the Creative Summit. That wouldn't make any sense. Why would they, that wouldn't make any sense. So I presume there's going to be another update, maybe 10.5, maybe just a preview. They could preview it at NAB and then have it out later in the year. The Mac Pros do it anytime. But anyway, I'm broadcasting on an iMac 2017. The main reason I'm going to get rid of this machine is it only has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, and I need at least 3. And so I'm always plugging and unplugging something in and out, and I got to turn the machine around, and it's a pain. I'm going to get rid of it just for that reason alone. It's a great machine other than that. So I'll either get a new iMac Pro, or if they update the iMac, they'll update the iMac. At some point, they'll have a new iMac, and hopefully it'll have 4 Thunderbolt 3 ports, right? Hope it'll have 4. The iMac Mini's got 4. The iMac Mini's got 4, and this only has 2. This has USB and some other things, but it only has 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports. Give me 4. I need 4. So whatever I'll be getting, it'll have to have 4 ports. I won't buy if it doesn't. Rob Mills says, I need a new MacBook, but not sure if I want an i9. Yeah, I'm not going to rush out and buy one either, unless I got a really good price on it. All righty. I think we're going to finish this up. And I want everybody the happiest of Thanksgiving. I hope the people in California get rid of those darn wildfires. I mean, that's just terrible for them out there. So Gabriel Spalding says lots of people up in arms about, big surprise, Apple warning about not supporting legacy formats in the near future. Right. We talked about that earlier. No matter what Apple does, they get criticized. So some people will be happy. The main thing is this: be constructive criticism, be polite, be professional. That's all. I don't think it's that big a deal. I'm going to prepare my stuff. I'm just going to I'm going to keep an OS that supports the legacy material. I'm going to keep a machine that supports the legacy material that I can open it up in. That's the way I'm taking care of it. If I forget to update something and I update the OS, I'll go to the legacy machine, open it, convert it to ProRes, and then use that. You know, optimizing for ProRes takes care of that problem. So go back to all your legacy projects, optimize them, and that'll take care of it. That issue anyway. So Gabriel Spalding says you should get the iMac Mini. It has a 6-inch screen. I don't know what the iMac Mini is. Is that the iPad Pro? Don't know. Had to hit that cough button again. You should see my audio setup. I have things running into things. It's incredible. I have the Aero, the Universal Audio Aero as my main interface. I really, really like it because it runs plugins like hardware. It's in real time. The plugins are in real time. I have a Fairchild Pultic. Let me see what I have. I have a Fairchild 670 compressor and a Pultic EQ running on this. Just a little bit of each one of those. And then I'm using a Neumann TLM 103 microphone, which you can't see. It's right here. Oh, you can't see it. I got a windscreen on it. All right, I think we're going to be done for today. Thank you all for stopping by. If anytime there's any other breaking news, I'll come on this live. Just subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's the easiest way. Richard Taylor TV on YouTube. And I want to thank everybody who was involved with the summit. I want to thank all of you for chiming in here. I want to thank all the Final Cut Pro users. I want to thank you all. I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving, right? So if you want to see, I have a live update, chronological, from the summit, starting on Thursday afternoon, Thursday night, Friday morning, Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night. Go to fcpradio.com. And right on the main page, let me see, I'll pull it up here. fcpradio.com. Right on the main page, I have a link take you to the FCP Creative Summit. And on that page, I have all the movies, live coverage as it happened. Right? Everything. Thursday night, Friday morning, there's the Apple 1044 demo room. There's the Creative Summit Expo night. Final Cut Pro 1044 discussion, that was Saturday night. That was after we got to talk to the Final Cut Pro, the Pro Apps team. Saturday night mixer. I went downstairs and we had a mixer down there. They had a mixer in the bar. It was very not conducive to live video, but I went down there anyway, just for the heck of it. It was fun. They had Jeff Greenberg was down there yelling at everybody, yelling over the crowd without a microphone, of course. Steve Martin was down there. Everybody. Brad was down there. Philip Hodges, Gregory Clark, Serena Catania were down there. All kinds of people. But anyway, I'm going to sign off here. Let me just check the chat real quick. Chris Fenwick was there, my friend Chris Fenwick. We've been friends for quite a while. Everybody was down. Let me just check. Rob Mill says, thanks, Richard, for your reporting from the summit. Gabriel Spalding says, thanks. That's great. Workflow extension for Logic 10. You know, I'm going to suggest that they do a Logic 10 session next year. That's a very good point that they haven't done any Logic, although Mark Spencer did one this year. I take that back. Mark Spencer did a Logic I think scoring in Logic for Final Cut Pro or something. So, but I'd like to see a more specific, Logic specific, since it is a pro app, and since they do motion and compressor. So Garrett says, I hope you can post the Justine video. Yeah, I recorded her whole session. I mean, it's not set up for like for recording necessarily, but I did record it. I'll check with the FMC people before I would post something like that. But it's good though. I think they'll like it, and I think she would say it's okay to post. Tom Moore says, thanks for the updates and video, Richard. Thank you. Hey, tell everybody about this video. It'll remain up. Come watch it. Tell them about Final Cut Pro Radio. I'll have a new episode out after Thanksgiving, before the end of the month. I'm not sure who's going to be on it yet. I like to keep that secret till the day, or at least keep it quiet until I actually put it out. Surprise for everybody. I'm wishing you the best. Everybody the best. California, please, I hope, say prayers for those people to get rid of those fires. It's just devastating what's going on there. We didn't see the actual fires. We just saw the aftermath of the smoke. And everybody, please, have a great, peaceful Thanksgiving. Spend it with your family and friends. Okay? This is Richard Taylor from FCP Radio TV signing off. I'll see you the next time.